Hey, listener name, ready to go exploring with me? Into this kind of hidden world, we're going to deep dive into full fraud risk assessments, or FRAs if you want to be in the club.
The club sounds exclusive.
Right. I was prepping for this, and I gotta say, it got way more interesting than I thought. It's like behind every business, there's this whole, I don't know, game going on between companies and the people trying to, like, scam
It
them.
is a bit of a hidden world, yeah. And a full FRA. Think of that as shining a light all over the place looking for those hiding spots.
So before we get all, super detailed, can you give us the quick version? What makes a full FRA different from a regular risk assessment?
It's that full part, that's where the magic is. Lots of assessments, they're narrow, right? Maybe it's cybersecurity or just one department. A full FRA, that's like a full body scan, the whole organization. Vulnerabilities everywhere, not just the obvious ones.
So not just checking the front door is locked, you're looking for like loose bricks and wobbly windows, making sure everything's secure.
Exactly. And that's why it's so powerful. You get this holistic view of where you might be at risk for fraud. Otherwise, you're just guessing.
I can already see why this would matter, but let's spell it out for our listener. Why should someone, maybe even someone like listener name, care about FRAs? What's in it for them?
Okay, imagine this. You're in charge of a project budget, right? Got to make sure every dollar counts.
Mm.
Full FRA can show you exactly where you're most vulnerable. Then you put your resources in the right places. No more wasting money. You're being smart.
Ooh, yeah, no one wants to waste money. And I bet there are other reasons a company would want to do this whole FRA thing, right?
Tons. In fact, the source material we looked at, it lists 4 BDs.
Mm.
We just talked about smart spending, but there's also finding all those potential risks. Could be employees messing around, a vendor trying to pull something, even like a fancy cyber attack.
Whoa, so you're setting up this like early warning system for anything shady going on.
Exactly. Plus, there's preventing problems in the future. You understand the weaknesses, you can guess what kind of fraud might happen next, and be ready. You're basically building a fortress.
That's kind of cool, almost like a fraud crystal ball. But I have a feeling there's also a less fun reason, something official.
You got it. A lot of industries, FRAs are the law, plain and simple. So if you stay on top of them, less headaches, less chance of big fines, and no one ends up in court, hopefully.
Okay, yeah, that's a motivator. So let's say a company's like, all right, let's do this FRA thing. What does that actually look like? Is there like a step-by-step?
There is, and it's a lot like an investigation. Seriously. Think of it as a journey, 7 stops along the way.
Ooh, I love a good roadmap.
Yeah.
Can we walk our listener through this? What's step 1 on our FRA journey?
First, you got to figure out the boundaries. What are we looking at specifically? Which areas? That's defining your scope and objectives. Gets everyone on the same page right away.
So you're figuring out your crime scene before you go looking for fingerprints.
Exactly. Then, step 2, we got to find those potential fraud risks. So, you assemble your team, right? People from finance, HR, IT, the works. Everyone brings their knowledge to the table. Brainstorm every single way someone could defraud the company.
I bet that's when things get interesting. So many possibilities. But then what? You've got this huge list of risks. How do you even begin to handle that?
That takes us to step 3, which is where we figure out how likely is each risk? And if it happens, how bad would it be? That way you know what to focus on first.
Right, got to prioritize. You don't want to waste time on something that's probably never going to happen. So you're focusing on the stuff that could really hurt if it went wrong. What's next on our adventure?
Step 4 is looking at your defenses. What's already in place? Financial controls, policies, all that. You're basically checking, are your defenses strong enough for the risks you found?
Testing your armor, making sure it actually works.
Exactly. Like any good detective, you're looking for weak spots. Because if you find gaps in your armor,
You got to have a
then plan.
You can't just leave them wide open. Someone's going to walk right in. So what happens when you do find those vulnerabilities? What then?
That's step 5, where we get creative. Designing ways to fix the weaknesses. Could be tightening up procedures, getting new tech, even changing how the company is structured. This is where it gets real. Step 6 is all about, like, putting those plans into action. It's not enough to just talk about fixing things. You actually have to do it. Could be changing how you do things, training people new software, even like reorganizing the company a little.
So we've made your plans. Now you got to send out the troops.
Yeah, exactly. And then step 7, the last one, this is where we look back and say, okay, is it working? The fraud world, it changes all the time. So your FRA, it can't just sit on a shelf. You got to keep updating it. New risks pop up, your business changes, got to stay flexible.
You're always on guard. Even if your fortress is strong, someone might invent a new way to attack it.
Right. It never really ends. You're always improving.
Okay, so we did the whole 7 steps. That's a lot, but the benefits are pretty huge. From your experience, is there anything companies can do to make their FRA even better? Like any secrets or tips?
Oh, absolutely. One thing I've seen, some companies try to do too much. Remember, a full FRA is about the whole organization, but that doesn't mean you get lost in the details. Focus your energy where the risks are highest and where the damage would be the worst.
Got to be efficient, but also thorough.
Right on. Another one. Get everyone involved. Different departments, finance, legal, HR, IT, everyone. They all see things differently. You might find risks you missed otherwise.
It's like your own little detective squad, each with their specialty.
Love that. And don't forget about using data. Use it for everything. Looking back at old fraud cases, comparing to other companies, there's software that can help too. All that helps you make smarter decisions.
No more guessing games, just hard facts.
Yep. Oh, and this might sound obvious, but make sure your FRA actually leads to something. You're not just finding problems, you're coming up with solutions.
You found your suspect, now you got to make the arrest.
Exactly.
Okay, best practices, check. But what about messing up? Even if you're trying hard, what are some common traps companies should avoid?
Big one. Not getting the bosses on board. If the CEO and everyone's not into it, you're not going to change anything.
So you need support from the top, or the whole thing falls apart.
For sure. Another mistake, ignoring new risks. The stuff that's just coming out, fraud is always changing, got to keep up with it, like cyber fraud, those tricky social engineering scams, even AI stuff. Ignore that. You're asking for trouble.
It's like you reinforced your castle, but then someone invents a cannon.
Exactly. Oh, this one seems simple, but you got to actually do the stuff your FRA says,
Yeah.
not just read it and forget it.
Set it, forget it with FRAs.
Nope. Always improving, always adapting. Oh, and one more that can trip people up. Bad documentation.
Documentation. Ugh, paperwork.
I know it's boring, but it's so important. You got to write down every step, everything you did, all the decisions, why. Because when someone asks, hey, why'd you do that? You have proof. It shows you're serious about stopping fraud.
So it's not just for the auditors, it's for your own good.
Right, absolutely. Protects you later on. In fact, I remember this one company way back when I was starting out.
Ooh, story time. Love it. What happened?
They did a pretty good FRA, the assessment part,
Yeah.
but when it came to like writing down why they made certain choices, not so much.
Yeah.
And then audit time rolls around and they're scrambling, trying to prove they did things right. Ended up costing them a fortune just because they didn't keep good records.
Oof. Yeah, that's a hard lesson. So documentation, it's not just about following the rules, it's about being able to back up your choices.
Totally. Like showing your work, proving you thought things through.
This has been so eye-opening. It's amazing how much goes into a really good FRA listener name. I think the thing that surprised me most is you're never really done, are you? You got to keep checking, keep updating. It's not just a one-time thing.
Absolutely. The companies that do this best, they get it. It's an ongoing thing. Got to stay sharp.
Well said. Huge thanks to expert speaker for, taking us on Wow. this deep dive into FRAs. It's been awesome.
My pleasure. Happy to do it. And listener name? Remember, knowledge is power, especially when it comes to this stuff. Stay informed, stay ahead of the game, and a good fraud prevention plan. That's worth its weight in gold.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And on that note, we're wrapping up this deep dive. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and stay safe out there.